Welcome to the Exec Exchange, 15-minute podcast in which a leader from the water sector shares a story to inspire, educate and inform other water sector leaders from around the globe. My name is Piers Clark and my guest today is Alessandro Reginato from Gruppo CAP in northern Italy around Milan. Alessandro, wonderful to have you with us.
Happy, it's a pleasure to stay with you today.
Now, we always start with learning a bit about the background of our interviewee. You are the general manager of CAP Evolution. Talk me through what you did to get into that role.
I'm a civil engineer. I think I've been very lucky in my career because I participate in many challenging projects all around many countries, mainly Spain and South and Central America, in the utility world, in the private sector, mainly water and waste management. I started in the early 2000s in Venezuela through a big management contract with the state of Zulia, the region of Maracaibo Lake, to manage the entire water supply of the state. Then I jumped into Dominican Republic, implementing full customer services for the east part of Santo Domingo, including water meter installation and billing system management to improve non-revenue water and collection. And after that, I worked in Madrid and then in Peru and Mexico, where I was in charge of water concessions, O&M services for public water companies, in customer services mainly, network maintenance and potable water supply. I've started also to develop waste services in Peru for municipalities. Then I came back in Italy 7 years ago and have been working in Milan for Gruppo CAP since then.
Alessandro, so that's a wonderful introduction because you name drop so many countries across Central and Latin America as your experience has been there. And that, of course, is going to be the topic we're going to be touching on today. It's getting into your perspective of how different water companies approach their water assets and what we can learn from that. Now let's talk a bit about Gruppo CAP. Tell me, where are you based? What do you do? How many people do you serve?
The Gruppo CAP, we are more than 900 people and we are very proud to serve our territories. Gruppo CAP is the provider of water services in the great metropolitan area of Milan, managing 2 million inhabitants, 6,400 kilometers of drinking water networks, and other 6,000 of wastewater networks. And we operate 40 wastewater treatment plants. We invest more than 100 million per year, renewing infrastructure and ramping our plants to increase the efficiency of our processes. We reduce water risks, energy consumption from 1 to 1.5% per year. At the same time, we invest in innovative processes and plants.
Excellent. Now, as I just mentioned, you've got this unique insight, having worked not just in Southern Europe, Spain and Italy, but also across Latin America, both Central and South America. And the topic I think we want to pick into today is the different focuses that you've seen water operators have in these different areas. Let's unpick that. Tell me, what's your perspective?
Yes, I would like to highlight the different focuses in the management of water services. Drinking water services coverage is still, for example, a priority in many countries of South and Central America, both in the rural and the metropolitan areas, especially for the phenomenon of the quick and irregular increase of urban population around the major cities. Behind a fast controversy of public versus private management, many providers have not become stronger and more industrialized. And as a consequence, we have many gaps in water coverage and non-revenue water with a lack of financial resources for the O&M activities, but also for capital expenditure. For example, building and meter coverage still are big areas of opportunities for public companies. At the same time, these are opportunities for specialized providers to put in place management contracts to improve standards and performance of these kind of entities. On the other side, on the wastewater management, there are many opportunities as well. Landfill disposal of sludge is very common, and the use of anaerobic digestion is very limited. The improvement of collection efficiency may represent an opportunity to generate resources for technical investments and seek funding. Some of the very big challenges I've observed in some of the more important cities. In Mexico City, for example, the biggest challenge is to move the water away during rainfall. We are talking about huge drainage tunnel up to 9 or 10 meters of diameter. On the opposite side, Lima in Peru grows in the desert on the Pacific coast. very wet weather in winter, but no rain. No rain means 1 millimeters per year. So you need to water 10 million people in a very arid area.
Excellent. And let me just go back. Your point, I think you made at the beginning, was that public water utilities don't have the funding. And I think you said they don't have the culture of driving out things like non-revenue water. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, there is a problem with the physical losses, but also with the administrative losses. Many times I participated in the project for billing and collection just to improve the collection efficiency, to generate cash and to finance O&M activities. So there is a big problem of culture also for pay the water.
And this is around political will, of course, because in public utilities in the parts of the world where you've worked, it's governments who control the bills, and therefore the water utility executives simply don't have any control over how much income they get to deliver the activities, correct?
Yes, at the end of the day, it's a general lack of regulation. In many countries, there is no national regulation. Let me say, in every region, everyone do as better as he can.
And when you come to the wastewater side, the argument there is that, of course, to put in something like anaerobic digestion to treat your sludges, whilst in the long term it will have a payback because you're generating energy and you're doing better things, you need the capital up front to better do that. And without governments providing that capital, those schemes can't get underway. Correct?
Yes, there are two things. On the other side, in Europe, we have better collection standards, which allows big investments, but we are not so cute in billing activities. Regulation is very extended and there is not much room to innovate. We are not as prepared in managing billing and customer follow-up or customer experience. Billing is often handled by finance department, so we miss the opportunities for process improvements, typical water services know-how, for example, all the technicalities around AMR and the meter reading in general. But on the other hand, there is a very hard pushing with investments per capita. For example, in Gruppo CAP, we are strengthening all the processes towards circular economy. We inject into the distribution grid biomethane for wastewater. We produce fertilizer by sludge. We recover sand from wastewater treatment plants and sewer cleaning, and we reuse it as end-of-waste products. We are also building a demonstration plant for the production of drinking water as a pilot to show the feasibility of a direct reuse process like the one called from toilet to tap in California, for example. So this is the great change I observed when I returned from Latin America to Europe. A great focus on resource recovery. We have the biopiattaforma of Sesto San Giovanni, waste to energy and water treatment plants, combining sludge treatment and organic waste digestion to produce biomethane, fertilizer, and heat for district heating. One of the latest innovations, for example, Robeco wastewater treatment plants, where we are testing the pyrolysis of dried sludge with the biodryers, a process which uses bacteria to increase sludge temperature that allows important saving in terms of energy and gas consumption for the drying process. I share with you this experience because one of the last projects I participated in the city of Arequipa included the construction of a wastewater treatment plants with the landfill for sludge instead of recovery of material.
It's a different approach, isn't it?
Yes, so the innovation is that the entire process of wastewater treatment will not produce waste, but products at the end of the chain, thanks to the rich certification of the biochar at the end of the pyrolysis. Biochar has many uses. One of them is for the extraction of pigments for coloring fabrics, for example.
Alessandro, you've given a wonderful story. There are things that people listening to will have gone, oh yeah, I know about anaerobic digestion, generating biogas. And yes, we clean up the biogas and you inject it into the grid. Yeah, all of that's fine. And then you start moving to pyrolysis and biochar and destructive techniques. And again, lots of people are beginning to think about those and putting installations. You're doing quite a large scale one that will serve a significant proportion of Milan. And then you just throw in this last one, which I'd never heard of before, the recovery of pigments. Let's do the biochar bit first, and then I do want to come to the pigments because it's so fascinating. The biochar plant, help me with the scale of what you're doing and when it will be operating.
Robeco wastewater treatment plants, we produce 7,000 tons of sludge per year. We installed the bio dryers, so we reduce at 1,000 tons of dried sludge at 70% of dry matter. And then we have installed a pilot of pyrolysis, which treat 500 tons of dried sludge, and it produces at the end of the day 100 tons of biochar. We are in a pilot stage with a provisional authorization, and now is working producing waste. But as I said, the provider had the rich classification, so this product, the biochar, can be commercialized, and they commercialize for the pigment extraction.
Okay, so the biochar is being used for the pigment extraction.
Yes, the amazing thing, and that at the end of the process, you don't have waste. You don't produce waste, but products.
Alessandro, that's a wonderful story about the pigments. Now, your experience in Latin America, and now you're in Italy, can you share with me some of the positive things that you've been able to bring back from your experiences in Latin America that have enabled you to do your job even more effectively in Italy?
Yes, I think one of the principal lessons learned is the flexibility and the capability to do many things with not many resources. So here that we have many financial capacity, we can do a lot of innovative projects. So we can use correctly our funds.
It's a mindset. If you spend 20 years, as you have, working in a medium or low income country and having to extend out your resources, you bring that back to when you're working in Italy with that same approach to everything you do during the day. Now, Alessandro, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I'd love to take you back 30 years. What advice would you give the young Alessandro just as he was heading off to Latin America?
Okay, I would tell him to always do something more beyond the daily task, to break patterns and introduce innovation in their activities oriented towards the circular economy by introducing those aspects of planning and precision rules of the manufacturing industry to the world of resource management.
You have been listening to the Exec Exchange with me, Piers Clark, and my guest today has been Alessandro Reginato from Gruppo CAP. I hope you can join us next time. Thank you.